Well, ladies and gentlemen, Donald Trump's plan to potentially deport 20 million illegal immigrants has been revealed. It's very hard to do this because these people being undocumented, the original countries not wanting to take them back becomes a bit of an issue. But Trump, understanding that there's a lot of bipartisan support, a lot of independents have come out and said, no, we do not want illegal immigrants here. Everyone needs to be legal. You can have the immigration, it's fine. They've just got to come in legally. Because remember, back all the way in 2015, Trump said, look, you can come here, it's got to be legally. We're building a massive wall because the immigration is just totally out of control. Liberals flipped out. They called him racist. Notice they're not doing that anymore, but there's really no plan from the Democrats because they recognize that Trump is starting to gain significant independent support in terms of the way he's handling the border. And when it comes to Biden, and this is so you can look at Biden's approval rating when it comes to immigration. These have got to be historic numbers. I mean, it's poll after poll after poll. Minus 34, minus 43, minus 32, minus 29. Every single poll is in the super negative for Biden, and there's really no end in sight. This immigration problem is a huge deal, and it's funny to see the Democrats pigeonholing themselves because, again, in 2015, they fear-mongered, they cried, they called Trump racist because he said he wanted to deport illegal immigrants. Democrats now recognize that's got a bunch of bipartisan support, and it's probably about 70% of Americans agree with Trump. Yes, we need to have an actual border. When you're a first world country and you've got a third world country to the south of you, it's extremely reckless and extremely naive to have a border that's wide open and think just, oh, kumbaya, all the nice people are going to come in here. We don't have to vet them. It's fine. Unfortunately, one of the big issues when it comes to immigration in general is the incentive package. And what do I mean by that? If these people end up becoming citizens, and there are a lot of them that do, they will very likely vote Democrat. So the Democrats are perfectly fine with endangering American citizens by letting people over that are not vetted if it gives them more votes in elections. It's totally understandable, yes. But let's see what Trump is trying to do. Trump has vowed to deliver the largest mass deportation effort in American history to try and clean up the Biden mess if he gets back into office next year, targeting millions of illegal migrants. And Trump, I think people understand, even liberals are coming out and saying, yes, Trump is very likely going to win. You look at the overall polling numbers, it's not even close. It's crazy, the comparison between 2020 and 2016. This could be a bloodbath of an election. Oh, I can't say the word bloodbath. Oh my God, guys. Remember when Trump said the word bloodbath and they were like, oh, it's worse than World War III? Guys, listen, with Biden, we've got all these situations, all these wars, but at least he doesn't say the word bloodbath. At least there's no mean tweets. I don't even know if Biden knows what Twitter is now. You know what? He might know what it is. You actually might be able to tell Biden what Twitter is, explain it. But because he's just so old and so lost, he'll probably forget it in 2 or 3 hours. And even Jon Stewart coming out now and admitting, yes, Biden's too old. Yes, this is a sham. It's ridiculous. He can't be president anymore. So high up Democrats now have admitted that this is just a charade. It's absurd and it can't continue. The 45th president has frequently spoken about his deportation agenda and recently indicated in a Time magazine interview that he would leverage local law enforcement, the National Guard, and the military to carry out his plan, similar to the dragnet-style sweeps of Operation Wetback under President Eisenhower that shipped out more than 1 million migrants back in 1954. And Eisenhower was loved. He had a record high approval rating. Trump trying to use a similar strategy to clean up 20 million illegal immigrants. And again, there's nothing against immigration. That's fine. Immigration is going to happen into first world countries. It's understandable. The problem is these people have to be legal. And when you're surrounded by a third world country, there has to be a border that does not let every single person in. I actually do have a lot of thoughts when it comes to the border. And unfortunately, in terms of Trump's plan to build the border wall, I thought it was kind of done half-assed. And the problem that Trump had, and this is just my speculation looking at it, Trump, if you go back to 2015 when he first announced the idea for a border wall, he said, oh, Mexico's going to pay for it. And theoretically, yes, if the United States was not so nice, and maybe that's rhetorical because a lot of people don't think we are nice, but if we wanted Mexico to pay for it, Mexico would be paying for it, if you know what I mean, based on our military strength. But if you want to be diplomatic about it, there's really no way to force Mexico to pay for the wall. So Trump was kind of coming at it. It was kind of like a losing battle from the start, saying Mexico's going to pay for it. No, come out with your chest, say, we're spending $30 billion. I know the original estimate was around $15 billion, but let's just say we want a grandiose wall, make it translucent, make it light up, whatever. And then the other thing that I would do in terms of the wall, you've got to, the wall has to go under because they'll dig under to get to America. And then also you need the wall to be connected throughout the entirety of the border. And that was another issue with Trump's wall. The biggest problem is he didn't finish it. And that's, it's rearing its ugly head right now. There's so many cracks in the wall that were left unfinished, I believe along the Arizona side, the Arizona border with Mexico. And that's one of the ways that they're getting in. But I do think Trump, if I was Trump, at this point, if Zelensky sneezes the wrong way, the Democrats want to give him $30 billion in aid to take care of his cold. Why can't we use $30 billion of our money to actually secure the border? You look at our military budget. That's one of the arguments that liberals make. They're like, we've got such a massive military budget. The money we're sending to Ukraine is such a drop in the bucket. And then they say, no, we can't spend a single dime on border security because it's racist. Notice the hypocrisy. If we can send Ukraine hundreds of billions of dollars, and look, you can have your opinion of that. You can say, if we're weakening a foreign adversary without losing any of our soldiers, it makes sense. But let's also invest in our own border. And I think Trump's border wall, there's no way I would go at it the way he went at it. I would say, listen, we're spending significant money to secure this and build a massively tall border wall that goes under. You're going to have to dig out the foundation and pour concrete. Goes under by about 10 feet as well to secure the border. And it's going to be fully connected, meaning if we have to push the border back a little bit to make sure it's fully connected because there's mountains, there's hills, there's problems, we're going to do that to make sure the border is secured. And we're not going to have to deal with this issue, and things are going to move a lot more smoothly when it comes to immigration. So Trump has come out and revealed this, and you can see the article says carrying out an operation that large would require a massive expansion of immigration and customs enforcement, collaboration with the State Department, and a boost in funding from Congress, former ICE officials tell The Post. So Trump, he's trying to deport these people. They're gonna fight liberals tooth and nail on this. And unfortunately, as long as you have this incentive structure, because of the idea that many of these immigrants entering the country, if they get their pathway to citizenship, they will undoubtedly, no matter which state they go into, vote liberal. That's just the reality of the numbers. There's an incentive behind Democrats in Congress to say, no, this is racist, it's disgusting, we can't deport people. It is bad for America, even though it's got huge bipartisan support, and it's the reason why Trump is very likely going to win the 2024 election. There is still no plan behind what's happening at the border, even though we've got record numbers with the Biden administration. They've actually come out and underreported the illegal immigration, which is ironic because you would think these people who had a viewpoint back in 2015 saying Trump is racist for deporting anyone, they would want to spout and say, oh, we're letting all the illegals in because we're not racist, but they realize there's no bipartisan support behind illegal immigration, so they have to neuter the numbers and say, oh, it's not 20 million illegals, it's only 11 million, when bipartisan government officials admit, no, it's a lot more than that. And Trump has come out and estimated it's 20 million, probably even more than 20 million. So this is a huge problem for Biden. His approval rating when it comes to, it is funny how you look at Biden's approval rating and you would think, maybe you should do something about that. I mean, that is horrifically bad. But they're pigeonholed because of their holier-than-thou stance back in 2015, where they said any deportation is racist and Trump's racist because he wants to build a wall. They really can't come out and say, oh, we actually do have to be tougher on immigration. We actually do have to deport people, because they view that as giving into Trump and basically admitting that Trump was right. So these people are spinning in circles, sitting there, and then Biden is sitting there with an approval rating 8 points lower than the next lowest since we started measuring approval rating in American history. It's absolutely devastating. They're like chickens with their heads cut off. They don't know what to do because they've twisted themselves into a knot because they're so obsessed with appearing not racist and calling other people racist. They've trapped themselves and spun themselves into a cardboard box. And it's really fascinating to see. And it's something that needs to be studied, the way these people act when it comes to immigration, because there's really nothing that they can do. The only strategy is to continue to allow illegal immigration because it might help us in the polls and possibly if these people become citizens, and then underreport it. That's basically the strategy right now when it comes to the Biden administration. And Trump says, no, we're doing the Eisenhower method. We're going to be deporting a lot of people. I need help from Congress, and that's a whole nother problem. If I were Trump, I would completely rebuild the wall. I would say, look, you're going to spend $30 billion to go get Zelensky cough drops when he sneezes, but we can't secure the border and spend money on that. Again, I think Trump opened up and said, oh, Mexico's going to pay for it. That was a mistake. He should not have done that. He should say, listen, we're just going to pay for it. We have the money. We spend so much money on military. We're going to secure the border. He said, oh, Mexico's going to pay for it. And yes, we could make Mexico pay for it, but it would not be the diplomatic thing to do. So that is the situation right now. And then another part of this article that just makes the United States look, unfortunately, insanely dumb. You can see, apart from the reluctancy of a possible Democratic-run Congress to fund enhanced enforcement operations, right? And that's the idea of the incentive structure. The Democrats are not going to want to fund this, even though this is supported by at least, I would say 65-70% of Americans, these deportations at this point. In 2015, it was different, but Trump has won the immigration battle. You can see by Biden's approval rating on immigration, Trump has won, to where many independents are saying, yes, we need to have an actual border. We need the wall. It needs to happen. In 2015, it was racist to do it, but now it's turned, and in part of that's due to the lack of mainstream media trust, Elon Musk taking over Twitter. It all comes together, and people wake up and see how ridiculous it all is. But you can see a Trump administration could run into hurdles deporting migrants to their countries of origin if those governments refuse re-entry. So think about these other countries who the migrants have fled them. They're very likely in poverty. Obviously, if you're in poverty, you've got a higher percent chance to commit crimes. And I'm not saying I'm against people that are in poverty. I'm saying that's just the numbers. And so these countries who are losing these people, if the United States says, okay, we found a Mexican and we want to deport him back, turns out he's a criminal, Trump comes into power, Mexico can say, you idiots, you let him in your country. We refuse him. We don't want him back. We don't want a criminal back. So you see how dumb it makes America look with the amount of money we have to spend on infrastructure, that we're dealing with this issue in the year 2024. And it's actually at a record high now. It is significantly worse than even under Obama. The State Department could use Section 243 of the Immigration and Nationality Act to issue visa sanctions against countries that refuse to take back their citizens. So this could get very ugly, with the United States being forced to sanction countries because they find immigrants that possibly could be illegal. Maybe they've got criminal records. They could be forced to sanction the countries because the countries don't want those citizens back. What a mess this is. And we'll see if Trump is able to clean this up. But he revealed his mass deportation strategy similar to what Eisenhower did when he deported 1 million people. Trump possibly going to be deporting around 20 million illegal immigrants. And again, this is not something that only has 35 or 40% support. Look at the approval rating of Biden, his handling of immigration. This is what most Americans, especially 99% of Republicans, I would say about 70% of independents, and then even probably about 30% of Democrats, they agree with this. They agree with deportation of illegal immigrants. They think it's gotten way out of control. It is a stark difference from where we were 8-9 years ago, where even mentioning deportation of illegal immigration was racist according to mainstream media. You can see people not buying it anymore. They're waking up. This is absurd that our country, who should have a very... Oh, this is another thing I wanted to mention. Why are there no issues with the United States and the Canadian border? If you look at the US-Canada border, it is just a thin strip of grass in the middle of a forest. That's what it is. So how are there no problems? Oh, it's because Canada is a first world country, so there's no need, there's no issues. Although I will say Canada, they might have their own problems. Apparently Trudeau has come out and said, yes, there's going to be a $20,000 exit fee if you want to leave the country, because apparently I guess people are fleeing Canada and they're forced to enact some type of fee. Canada, very similar to America, just far more left than America. It's like the left version of the United States, basically. So the citizens are going to have less rights. There's big problems. But the overall point is, you look at the US-Canada border, there's no issues there. The US-Mexico border, there's major problems. It's obvious. But either way, guys, that is going to do it for this video. Make sure you follow me on X. Link to that's always in the description.